Hey, everybody, welcome to the Father Talks podcast. I am your host, Mike D. I am here with my special guest, Mr. DJ LaGaurie. Mr. DJ LaGaurie is the founder, correct,
Yes,
of
correct.
the program Be That Guy. So we are happy to have him on the show today. Uh, I reached out to DJ because I really enjoyed reading about what he was doing with young men. We don't have enough resources for young men to where whatever situation they might be struggling through. I don't want to be super specific, but there needs to be more resources for guys to be able to be guys and have somebody to talk to. And here comes DJ with this great, resume. It was exciting. I'm like, this is somebody we need to talk to. So without further ado, Mr. LaGaurie, the floor is yours.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Pleasure.
Uh, I'll start a little bit with kind of introducing myself, kind of how I kind of came to creating Be That Guy. I am originally from Rochester, New York, and played. So I'm a big football guy. So, like as we were mentioning, right, I love football players. Got a soft spot for football guys. I think they're the smartest guys in the world because
Yes, sir.
you really try to understand an offense and the defense. You need some intelligence to know what the heck's going on.
That is a fact, especially in this day and age.
Oh, 100%. I remember when I went to college and they handed me a playbook of 200 pages, and I said, what the heck is this? I
My
was like,
guy.
am I supposed to remember all these, right? When I'm flying around trying to hit receivers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. See, for me, it was I left, I right. That was it. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah. So shout out to all guys. You guys are the unsung heroes. You're the smart guys, right? Don't let anybody ever tell you you're a dumb jock, all right? They just don't know.
Right.
Don't know what. So originally from Rochester, New York, grew up 27 years there. Absolutely loved it there. Had a great childhood and got involved with football when I was younger. My father was one of my coaches going through kind of like Pee Wee football in kind of like those early stages. Then I went to high school, went to college, played football in college. And what ended up happening was my senior year of college, I had this internship with this company that I absolutely loved. And it was in marketing and graphic design. And I went to school for marketing. I love art. I love graphic design. And Mike, I thought I had kind of figured out my life. I was like, I got it. I was like, this whole life thing, like, I've nailed it, right? I was like,
Right.
I'm 21 years old. I was the captain of the football team. I was the academic All-American. I'm like, I got this. I'm like, this is easy. I'm like, let me go. And what ended up happening was I ended up getting fired from that job in a very interesting way. And basically, I don't know if you've ever had a really solid plan that you thought was going to work, and you kind of like put all your eggs in that basket, and then it
I've
just
been there.
right just completely gets taken away from you. And that's what happened when I was 21 years old. And I don't think I was mentally fit enough to handle that type of challenge at that point of my life. And so when it happened, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought I did all the things right that they told me to do. And I graduated with a 4-year degree. And now I felt like a loser, kind of like a failure. Like I had like nothing to show for it. All my buddies were getting jobs. I remember I was going on social media to kind of like cope with my stress and anxiety because it was this cool filtered world that was very dopamine high. And I could see all of these people who I'd never met before and how great of a lives they were living. And then I saw my friends and my classmates and they were all getting these jobs out of college. And I was like, holy cow, I missed something, right? What did I miss? Like that was the question that I asked myself. And unfortunately, our brain will answer any question we give it. So it kept saying, hey, you didn't do this enough. You weren't smart enough. You weren't strong enough. And so I really started to struggle. Like every day it was kind of getting worse and worse. And it was getting to the point where I'm like, I feel totally lost. I feel like I've lost the confident, disciplined DJ that I worked 21 years to build, like really hard. Like it was really important to me. And I feel like I totally just threw all of that away. And I was really, really struggling to kind of find some direction and get back on a track that made me excited about my life. And there were a couple moments where I actually shared this in a podcast that I released this week. I reached out to my mom during this time, and I didn't want to reach out to my father, which is right. I wanted, like, I think this is an important thing, right? I didn't want to reach out to my father because I didn't want him to think he raised a weak man. So I didn't
Right.
want right? I wanted to completely just be like, nope, I'm good, Dad. Like everything's fine, right? There's nothing you got to worry about here. And so I actually very lightly shared some stuff with my mom, kind of like, Mom, I feel lost. I feel like totally like I'm going in a wrong direction. Like I could use a little bit of help. And so we had some good conversations during this time. And what ended up happening was she ended up giving me a resource that I don't know if she had used, or she had just kind of stumbled upon, but it was, I don't know if they were a therapist or a counselor, whatever they might have been. But I called this person today and basically told them, hey, I got a lot of stuff that's going on right now. I'm kind of struggling. And actually, at this time, I had gotten a job about 2 weeks prior. And I thought, and so this is like the interesting thing, I thought that once I got the job, everything was going to be fine. I was going to have this purpose. I was going to be making money, right? I was going to get to use my skills. And after like a week of being at this job, and it was a great job, like it was cool, I enjoyed it. I just didn't feel like I was fully stepping into what I thought I was capable of doing.
Right.
And so there was still this gap, and it was like eating at me each day. And so I called this therapist lady, whatever she is, and I remember I went into the janitor's closet actually because I was so embarrassed because I didn't want anybody to hear me talking to her. And went into the janitor's closet, had this conversation, and about 30 minutes in, I had this huge realization that completely changed the course of my life, and I think was so on purpose. Like it was supposed to happen this way because it ended up actually leading into me meeting my mentor like 4 days later, which I'll share in a second. Basically, I had this realization where I said, my life is on me. And I
Yes, sir.
realized, like in that very moment, I was like, "Mom isn't going to come save me. This job isn't going to save me. This therapist lady isn't going to save me." I said, "I can have good people around me, questions, right, and who can support me. Yet at the end of the day, I always say they're not going to lift the weight for you, right? I have to lift that weight for myself." And so I realized it right in there in that moment, and I literally just said thank you, and I hung up on her again because it was kind of like this huge realization where I was like, I got to fix this, right? Like this is 100% on me. And so that weekend, I was at the gym, and one of an old basketball coach named Scott Gibbs, who I always had a great relationship with, he saw me and came up to me and he's like, "Deej, how you doing?" And I was like, "Holy cow, Coach Gibbs, like great to see you." And for the first time in about 6 months, I think I just decided to be brutally honest with somebody besides my mom. And I said, I'm actually struggling. I was like, I could actually really use some help with figuring out my life and getting in the right direction. And he said, "You want to talk about it?" I said, "I would love to." And so for the next 3 years, he mentored me and he coached me on a weekly basis, maybe like 2 to 3 times a week. We would get together. We went to Starbucks, went to his house, and we started having these meetings. And we talked about confidence. We talked about discipline, accountability, habit, mental fitness, all these things. And we were almost like began coaching each other. So it became like this really cool relationship where we're kind of like looking at each other's lives, poking holes in it and seeing where we could help. And at the end of the 3 years, I said, could we start a business that helps people with these conversations? And he
Right.
was like, let's do it. And so we co-founded Acres of Diamonds, which is our parent company, and co-founded that together. And in Rochester, New York, what we started doing was I started reaching out. This is where like 24, 25-year-old entrepreneurship DJ starts to kick in. I start reaching out to basically every business in Rochester that has like 100+ employees or something like that. And I'm like, hey, we have this 8-week mental fitness program that we built. Can we work your teams through it, right? Your accounting team, your marketing team, your sales team. And so we ended up partnering with a couple of these larger companies in Rochester. And as I began coaching these groups, I had moms who were within the groups or even colleagues of people, just connections I was making, say, hey, my son is 17 years old and he's struggling with confidence and discipline. Can you help him? And I was like,
Outstanding.
yeah, of course I'll help them. And I wanted to be very honest with the moms. I said, listen, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. I said, but I do believe in confidence. I do believe in building good habits and sticking to those habits and being accountable to them. And so I said, and we could talk about those things. And so they were all good with it. And so from about age 24, 25 to 28, for those 3 to 4 years, I was started coaching guys on a one-on-one basis. And at the end of that, uh, 28, 29, I said, why don't I just build a program where we have like cohorts of guys and groups that go through this habit-based program where we track reading and exercise and sleep and growth commitments that help them get jobs, make money, go to college, get on a path that essentially gives them some meaning, so then they can get excited about their life again. It's because it's exactly what I kind of accidentally did in my early 20s. And so that is actually how we built Be That Guy. And so now we work with guys, we have guys from all over the country that we work with. They come into our habit program and we work them through. It's a 12-week program with a week 0 meeting. So it's essentially like 13 weeks. And we work through building better habits. And we actually have like a whole calendar that we track with the guys. And when we meet each week, keep each other accountable. And so I'm realizing that, it's such an honor to get to do this work, because it's like I'm helping the younger DJ, right? That younger guy who felt like he was lost. Well, you got your brotherhood now. So that's me and how I kind of came to.
That's outstanding. Listen, I can tell you, there's a generation of guys my age, we'll just say my age, and we could have used this. We could have used resources like this, because, I mean, it just didn't exist,
Yeah.
And I think that young men, especially in this day and age, there's not enough opportunities for us to get help, or we're too embarrassed to get help, and it's a stigma we need to get out of. We need to break, because guys need help too. There shouldn't be a young man who can't express himself turns to a man who can't express himself, who turns into a father who can't express himself. You know, so, and not being able to express yourself, having doubt in yourself, no confidence, turns into a lot of other issues.
Yes. And
You know,
I would even say too that father who turns into a father who can't express himself is probably going to raise a son who can't
who can't
express
express himself. Exactly.
himself. And then
Exactly.
it becomes this nasty cycle. And
Yeah.
right, guys keeping in all those emotions and those thoughts, that's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
That stuff can pile up and it can
Yeah. And
explode.
I myself has found that it will stress you like nothing else, holding everything in,
Yeah.
not having a resource, not having an outlet. Fortunately for me, the gym is my outlet.
Yes.
Yeah, when I can't talk, I go to the gym. But
Hmm.
everybody else, not everybody you know, has a way to vent. So,
Yeah.
so moving forward, got a quick question for you. Throw my old man glasses real quick.
Ah,
It's all good, man.
good.
Hey, all right. So, first question: what's really going on in the world today with young men?
Mm. I think there's a lot of comfort going on in the world with young
Mm,
men. I think the way that we have raised young men. So I'm very fortunate to where. So I'm 30 years old. I got a smartphone when I was maybe a senior in high school, and I didn't actually get social media until I was a sophomore in college. So I was about 19, 20 years old before I got exposed to the world but basically to the world, right? I mean, if you think about right, social media and internet
right.
technology, uh, today's day and age, right? What is the age that we are giving these young men access to the world? It's probably a lot earlier, right? Right, probably 10, 11 years old, maybe even earlier. I don't know what those stats are yet. I do know that a lot of these young men now grow up with a phone in their hands, and when you have a phone in your hands, you have access to basically everything bad and everything good. Right, so it's a matter of choice. And so I think a lot of the things that young men are struggling with today is because technology is created to make things easier. I think young men have gotten in the habit or the expectation of easy, right? Creating
Right.
an environment of easy. And the easiest example I can use is, I can sit on my couch and order Chipotle to my door and never move and
Right.
never even talk to anybody. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, I might have had to go to the store and talk to somebody and say, hey, where's your burritos? Where's your ground beef? Where's your, right? And then I would have had to actually go get it and then make it and then drive home. So now having said that, it's great that we have those luxuries, right? I don't have to spend an hour doing it. Yet the older way, we could say, required doing hard things, right? Doing things that were uncomfortable, right? That friction.
Yeah, it forces you to associate with other people, you know.
Exactly, too. So then your social skills start to improve,
Right.
right?
And
So,
now
yeah.
I don't knock people, for what they do, but this is one, like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, homeschooling and things like that, because I find, kids, they're not sociable. They
Mhm.
don't know how to interact with other people. So I was talking to a friend, and they had did a lot of, homeschooling with their kids, and found later on that they had zero social skills. They couldn't hold a conversation with anybody. Didn't make eye contact. When they talk to people.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just, and again, I'm not knocking other people. I'm just saying, it's a yes, it's great that you get this one-on-one education, yada yada yada, but you are missing out on critical skills that will help you in life.
I completely agree with that. And that's one of the, because I know a lot of people, they, right, do we need to go to college in this day and age, right? I know a lot of people, some people agree with this, some people don't. I remember when I was maybe 17 years old, junior, senior in high school, I had a great conversation with my father. And this was a big turning point, I think, in my life for um, me understanding the challenges of the future of based upon the things that I decide now. Like no matter what you're going to do, like you're going to choose your heart, right? You're going to
Right.
choose
For
right.
sure.
And so I had this conversation with my father about, hey, Deej, he said, you don't have to go to college if you don't want to, right? Like I want us to have a goal with why you want to go to college. Like what is the reason, right? So we had a really good conversation about why I thought college was valuable. And one of the biggest values or skills I got from college was social skills.
Right.
It was incredible because right, you have to talk to your professors, you have to talk to friends, you talk to people in the dining hall, being on a college football team, right? You're talking to guys all the time, you're talking to coaches. And so that was one of the biggest impacts that college had on me, was that social development. And I had buddies who didn't go to college, they went into trades of heating and cooling and construction and some other things. And I remember almost being jealous because they were making money when I was like studying like, English language literature or something like that. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing, dude? I want to go make some cash, right? And I remember they were making money, yet you could tell that they were a little bit more awkward in social settings because they didn't have the reps that we had. I walked into a bar and immediately started talking to people. They walked into
Yes.
a bar and just kind of sat back. And so, I think too, when you think about young men today, if they want to be in a relationship, and there's so many dating apps that where you just swipe left, swipe right, you don't actually have to talk, right? The communication is what, 90% body language. And so all these dating apps, you're only getting 10% of the person, right? So I tell guys, the saying I say is get in the arena, go to a bar, go to a library, go to a gym, and just say hi to somebody. Just be like, hey, how's it going? Right? Get used to the body language of it, the curiosity of it. One of the guys in our group, he had this great line. He said, don't even make it a pretty girl. He's like, because you could be intimidated by it. He's like, just say hi to a guy. It's like, hey, what's
Yeah.
up, man? Just get
Yeah.
in the habit of it. So I think that's a huge skill for guys to master as well. Just
Yeah.
those social skills.
But now I would say with men, I think we are generally, especially talking to other guys, if you're in the gym, hey,
Mhm.
we'll talk to anybody in the gym.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
any guy will walk up to you like, "Hey, man, how do I work this, or how do I do this? Hey, can you spot me?" Guys will be like, "Yeah, no problem." Oh,
Immediately
yeah,
best
immediately. But that's no problem. And whatever you like. But it is a different animal when you have to approach a woman
friends. Hmm.
and say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" Or, "Hey, we want to go for coffee." And you have to be extremely careful, in this day and age.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, you know, if you already have limited social skills, that makes those interactions even harder.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then it also creates a lot of evidence that you can't talk to people. And then right, and then you have low confidence because you can't talk to people, and then you don't want to go out anymore, so you even isolate even more, right?
exactly.
So right, it's a tough cycle. It's a tough cycle.
So, okay. So the Be That Guy program,
Yeah.
what does that entail?
So be that guy is it's pretty cool. Initially, when we actually started running this coaching program for young men. We called it the Acres of Diamonds coaching program for young men. And I was like, that's horrible. I'm like, that is such a mouthful.
Long. Yeah,
Right?
I'm like, wow.
Like, this is a lot. And so one of the sessions I was actually having with the young man, he said in the session, he goes, I want to be that guy. And I was like, be that guy who what? And he's like, be that guy who can do hard things, wakes up early, who eats healthy. He listed like 10 things. And I was like, keep going, dude. And he had this huge list. And so I was like, be that guy. I'm like, I like the way that sounds. And so then ironically, the next session I had, literally 20 minutes later, the guy said the exact same thing. Like, I want to be that guy. And then he filled it in his way. And
Yeah.
so when it comes to, hey, what is be that guy? I personally believe be that guy is be that guy who integrates the hard and soft skills of life. I don't think, right, I don't think we can be too intense, right? I think we have to have a balance of intensity and empathy and kindness in life, right? Be disciplined, be confident, yet also know when to really listen or empathize with somebody. And so what we do with guys to start is we work on the hard skills first. Hard skills are more black and white. They're a little, I personally think they're a little easier to get. It's more of a go, no go type of thing. Did you do the thing or didn't you do the thing? And so what we work on the guys with is in those first 13 weeks, we help guys build 4 habits over those 12 weeks. And we
Gotcha.
track them each week using a visual tracking system like this calendar that I showed you. And so the easiest thing that I think the simplest way to build confidence is actually to build evidence, right? And so if you think about my beliefs are created by the things I have evidence with, right? And so I always use the example, hey, I'm super confident that I can throw a football 15 yards and hit a target because I did it 1,000 times in high school because I was a quarterback, right? So I have a lot of evidence that I can do that. So I'm very confident with it. Now, if you ask me to bake a cake, I have very low confidence that I could because I've never done it, right? So I have zero evidence. So the goal with us visually tracking these habits throughout these 12 weeks is to help the guys build visual evidence that they are saying they're going to do a hard thing and then they follow through on it. And so if you have, right, let's say you track 50 habits in a month and you have 50 pieces of evidence that you did what you said you were going to do over time, I believe that that's going to help us build more confident young men. Right. And so the habits that we help guys build, we do 3 core habits. So every guy tracks the same 3 core habits to start of reading, exercise, and sleep. So every guy has to read a book. And the book that we read is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Super simple book. Basically, it outlines the importance of doing the little things right. And so then what we do is then the second habit is exercise. So every guy builds an exercise routine, and each guy, depending upon where they're at in their exercise world, we will meet them where they are. So if a guy's never exercised before, it might not be smart to have him go work out 5 times at the LA Fitness down the road, right? It might literally be, hey, I want you to walk 1 mile twice this week. And they'll be like, all right, right, that's where we're going to start, right? The goal is to get the guys up and moving, off the couch, off the phone. Let's get the blood flowing, right? So that's the second thing. Third core habit is sleeping habit. And that is basically, hey, what time are you going to go to bed? What time are you going to wake up? Let's provide some structure to the days. A lot of the times now, I mean, because of video games and online communities, guys are going into their rooms at 10 o'clock and they're playing video games and on these online communities until 2, 3 in the morning. They go to bed, they get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then they're wondering why they're so stressed and lethargic the next day. Then they don't go to the gym, right? Now they're proving more evidence that they didn't follow through on the hard thing, right? So that third piece is the sleeping habit. And then the fourth habit we have guys track is called a growth habit or even a growth commitment. And the growth habit is unique to each guy. So some guys might be, let's say they are they went to a 4-year college, they graduated, and they don't know what to do with their lives now. Kind of similar to me, right? When I graduated, I didn't know where to go. Their growth habit might be, hey, first we're going to work on building a good looking resume. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to apply to 10 jobs every week, right? Or maybe 20 jobs, right? Depending upon their urgency, right? And so their growth habits might be tailored more around professional, right, progress. Then some young men might say, hey, I want to do more volunteer work in my community, right? Or maybe a guy wants to actually apply to go to college or a trade school or a part-time job. And so that growth habit changes based upon where the guy is at in his professional life.
Right.
And the cool thing is as I meet more young men and work with more young men, a lot of the times too, they'll actually start to create their own growth habits. And so they'll say, hey, can my growth habit this week be, I had one guy a couple weeks ago say he wanted to interview his parents to get a better understanding of who they were. He said, he
Okay.
said, he said, I really want to, he goes, I don't really feel like I know them as like humans. He's like, I really want to understand. I'm like, this is awesome. So the growth habits are developing into like these really unique things that guys can do on a weekly basis that I can almost guarantee they wouldn't do if they weren't in this program. Right. Right. So that's essentially how we work them through it. And we do it over 12 weeks plus the week zero meeting. And as I said, we track them on this calendar. And what we do is at the end of the month, we track up how well they did. So they actually get a numerical score of what we call follow through rate, FTR for short. And so let's say, for example, a guy tracks 50 habits throughout a month and he follows through on 40 of those habits. That
Yeah.
means at a 80% follow through rate. And so then at the end of the month, we compare all the guys' follow through rates, and I do the program with them, so I have a follow through rate as well. It's let's say you got 4 guys in a group. At the end of the month, we'll have 5 FTRs individually for each guy, and then we'll do a group FTR. So we'll say, hey, how well did we do as a brotherhood, as a community? Like, how are we doing as a team? And so no guy wants to be that guy, no pun intended,
Yeah.
who's right, who's
On
bringing
the
up
bad side of it.
exactly on the bad side. So that's one of the things that incentivizes the guys to follow through on the habit is they don't want to be that guy on, because we put it up on the screen so they could see how well they do compared to the other guys. And I'm even coming up with ideas based upon, if a guy tracks minimum 50 habits, he's first in the group and he has a 90 plus FTR, he gets a reward, right? So
Okay.
I'm even thinking about different ideas around incentivizing the guys to even stay more disciplined to the commitments they make. So that's essentially be that guy in kind of the whole habit program. That's more of the hard skills program.
Right. I see. I like this because especially at an early age, young men, they they need people to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
Being, sports, especially with football, like we were talking earlier, allows us. It builds a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So you will go to war with these guys. You will, one of these guys picks up the phone and say, "Hey, man, can you help me with something?" You're rushing because, hey, that's my dude. That's the guy that blocks for me. This is the guy that we practice together. It builds that bond. So I love this because it reminds me of that aspect of it. Is that it gives you somebody to lean on.
Yeah. Never underestimate the power of a group of young men who are going towards a common goal. Right.
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 Absolutely.
You think about, right, any elite forces within the military, right? Like Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Green Berets, right? Like those are the toughest people in the world. And I've heard many times, and I know you're a serviceman,
Yep.
right? So by the way,
Yep.
thank you for your service, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. I've heard many times they say, we were fighting for the guy next to me,
Yep. Somebody's fighting for the guy to my left and right.
right? To the left and right, right? So you're fighting for that other human soul, right? And I think we are tapping into a small piece of that in these groups. I don't obviously it's not as intense as a Navy SEAL unit or something like
Oh,
that,
absolutely. But
right?
it still builds that bond, and it makes you want to look out for the guy. That's to your left and right. It doesn't have to be a combat type thing, but it's a life skill.
Yes.
You know,
We've had
not
guys,
to,
we've had
go ahead.
guys we've had guys who have tried to build habits before and they've struggled. Like one of the rules that we actually in week zero, I will say, guys, you have to be honest in this program. I said, there's no point in you coming to these sessions, in these weekly
Right.
sessions, and right, hey, I was supposed to work out 5 times. I hit five, all 5, and you really hit 2. I said,
Right.
to be honest, it like I basically I'm very upfront with the guys. I'm like, I don't care. Like if you lie to me, like nobody's gonna ever know except for you. Right.
Right.
So there's no point in not doing it. Right. And so one of the young men, he was struggling to do a morning routine. So we wanted to go to bed at 11 p.m., wanted to wake up at 7 a.m. So we had his bed and his wake at 11 and 7. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to wake up and he wanted to go to the gym. He wanted to have a protein shake after the gym. And then he wanted to read his book. He's like, that's what I want to do. I'm like, beautiful. I'm like, great morning routine. And he was struggling to hit it the first week. I think he wanted to do it 3 times and he got it like once. And we were like, all right, like what happened? Like what can we do as a group to help? And one of the young men said, "Hey, can I text you on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when you're supposed to do it? And I'll
Yeah.
text you at 7 a.m. to remind you." And just that is enough. And the guy was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, like that would be so cool. Like, could you do that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got you, bro." And like, just that is like that connection and that brotherhood. And that's so cool to see.
Yeah, because that gives you that now you are accountable to this person, because they sent you a message. Hey, you heading to the gym?
Mm.
Well, now you gotta go.
Exactly, right? That's
Like,
why
yeah,
it's
man,
so
yeah,
good
I'm
to
going.
have a gym buddy, right? That's why
Yeah,
it's so good to have a gym friend, right? I do boxing. I do boxing on Tuesdays and Thursdays with one of my good friends here in Tampa, and every time it's like 5 a.m. is when I wake up. I know I'm going boxing because I can't let them down. But now Wednesday, Friday, I just work out by myself. It's much easier not to
yeah.
sleep in.
It's much easier to slide. You know what? I'm gonna sleep another hour.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's my morning struggle. So all right. So personal honesty and attraction. Tell us about that.
Mm. Personal honesty and attraction. I think we're attracted to people who are comfortable in their own skin.
Okay.
And I think that comes from honesty. And sometimes the honesty is ugly. Sometimes the honesty isn't always pretty. I mean, to be honest, no pun intended, most of the time, I don't think it's that surface level attractive, right? Yeah,
Okay.
deeper, I think we respect those people. And I think we want to be around people we respect. I
Right.
think I have this really great story that I tell about one of my really good friends. He lives in Fort Lauderdale now. He's actually in Be That Guy. He's actually he's maybe like one of our mentors, and awesome dude, one of the smartest guys I know. And he went on a date with this girl, and he said, "Deej, this girl is so out of my league." He goes, "I outpunted my coverage," and he's like, "I have no idea why she said yes." And I'm like, "Dude, good for you, man." I'm like, let it rip. And so he went on this date with this beautiful woman, and he said he was very charismatic. He's a naturally confident guy, and so I was kind of like, really, like, are you nervous about this? He's like, "I'm very nervous for some reason being around her." And so he said that when they were done with the date, they were at his house. They were just having like coffee, and he said that he decided to be like brutally honest with her. And he said it was like a very big risk. He said, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know that your attractiveness is a little intimidating to me." He's like, "And I just decided to take a shot." He's like, "I just wanted to be honest with you." He said,
Right.
"I really enjoyed our night tonight. I thought we had a great time, right? I really enjoyed, the things we talked about, and I genuinely enjoy you as a person. So I just wanted to say thank you." And you know what she said back to him? She said, "That's the most attractive thing I've ever heard a man say." And I was like, "No way." She said that back, and he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Dude, authenticity." He's like, "Honesty." He's like, women. He said, "Women like honest, authentic men." He said, "Yet it's not just like your intimate relationships; it's your friendships too." Right? It's a coach to a player, it's a student to a teacher, it's a mother to a father, right? A mother to a son. I think the attraction we have with people comes from us actually talking about the tough parts of us, or like the not so great parts of us, right? The more jagged edges. I always say there's this cool metaphor of like if you had two perfect puzzle pieces that were circles, they couldn't connect, right? They would just bounce off each other. But if I had pieces that were cut up and had jagged edges of insecurities, right? Skeletons under the closet, flaws, right? Things I'm working on, regrets, that will actually connect with all the other
Right.
things, right? And so that's why I think when it comes to personal honesty and authenticity, that's actually really what we're attracted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Outstanding. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'm gonna have to steal that metaphor, though. I'll give you credit for it. I swear, I'm
More than
definitely gonna
welcome
give you
to.
credit. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what can parents do now to better support and guide their sons?
Mm. One of the things that I have really been interested in lately is parents expressing more vulnerability to their sons. And the story that I share with this is a couple, probably about like a year or so ago. So I have a really good relationship with my mother and father. I'm very close with both of them and my sister. About a year ago, my mom and I were talking on the phone, and she shared how during the 2008 stock market crash, I believe it was, right? I think it was like the housing bubble or something like that. There was a lot of financial uncertainty. My father was a realtor and still is a realtor, 40 years. And they said, during that time, they said, me and dad were trying our best to, make you and Deandra, my sister, feel comfortable, feel safe, like everything was good. She said, deep down though, we were kind of like freaking out. She said, like financially, we were trying to figure some things out, right? Like it was a ton of uncertainty that we were trying to manage. And she's like, and I just wanted to share that with you just to let you know that, like, it's there's going to be some hard moments that you have to just kind of get through. And I remember when my mom shared that with me about a year ago, I didn't look at her as my mom. I looked at her as a human who got through something hard. And it made me want to almost like be a better son. It made me want to be like kinder, right? And be a little bit more empathetic. And so I made a podcast about this probably about a month or so ago where I said, if you're a mom or even a dad, doesn't, if you're a parent to a son, let's say your son's 17, 18 years old, and you want to connect a little bit better with him to positively influence him in a better way with his life, I would literally take him out to dinner and I would tell him a story about, a vulnerable moment of your life, and allow him to see you as not just his mom or his dad, yet rather as like a human who's struggled with things. And right, I think as sons, we sometimes forget that our mom and our dad were once our age, and then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
grew up, they met each other, and then they had me, and they tried their best to raise me, and they like did what they thought was good, and they tried to avoid bad. And I think as young men, if we can have a little bit more empathy for our parents to realize that how hard parenting is, right? Like I think that can be a big shift.
Yeah. And I would say, so my middle son just had a baby, and
Congratulations, that's awesome.
thank you. I'm a grandpa. But it's been great, man. We've talked a few times about it. He's like, yeah, this is the best thing ever.
Mm,
He's starting to understand certain things that
yeah.
we talked about when he was younger. Like it's a proud moment for me, because like I try to tell guys too that give it time,
Mm,
your kids will understand. Because for a long time, even with my own parents, I was like, God, why are they so tough? Or why are they this? Or why are they that? And then when I had my own kids, like, oh, well, you know what? That suddenly makes sense. Okay. And I've called my mom a million times to apologize for whatever behavior because now I understand.
Oh yeah,
So,
I heard a philosopher. I can't remember what the philosopher's name was, but he said we can't understand life going forward, but we can understand it looking backward, right? And so, like to that example, right? If you look back on the things that your parents might have taught you, or in that moment, you're like, why the hell is my dad telling me
yes,
this?
why am I doing this? Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Then you look back, you're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
why he's doing it.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, how can any guy begin building real confidence and discipline in his life?
Mm. So I think confidence, like I was saying, confidence I think is built from that evidence and doing hard things. I was thinking a lot about this actually this past week where I said, some interesting things to think about: self-respect, self-image, and self-confidence. I think those three things are are traits that nobody can give you. Right? Like nobody can give you that for Christmas. You really have to go build that yourself. Like if you really want to respect yourself, if you really want to have some confidence and have a high self-image, then you have to go do that for yourself. And I think we do that by doing hard things. And hard things are different for every person, right? Discomfort is a relative term. Um, Yet I think that is what I like to call them almost confidence points, right? Like you really want to earn confidence points, you have to go do something uncomfortable. And that's why like when we run guys through our program, if you think about like reading, exercise, going to bed on time, those are like just hard enough things to where I have to focus on it a little bit and it requires some attention and maybe even some planning. And when you do that enough times and you visually track it, right, you create a system where it's like, hey, I wanted to read, exercise, and go to bed on time today. And then you have three checks on the 16th. And then you have three checks on the 17th, right? And that stuff adds up. I think that's how you really can start to build confidence. Then I think discipline just naturally becomes a requirement of that, right? I have to be, I mean, I define discipline as doing the hard thing when the easy thing is also readily available, right? The disciplined decision is to get out of bed. The easy decision is to stay in bed, right? The disciplined decision is to eat the chicken. The easy decision is to eat the pizza, right? So if it's all readily available right in front of my face, what is the choice I'm going to make? That's discipline, right? Where I basically, the term I use is short-term pain equals long-term gain, right? And then you can
Yeah.
flip it around and you can say short-term gain equals long-term pain. And right now, that short-term gain is all the comfort we were talking about earlier with the DoorDash, with the video games, the social media, right? Where I can stay in my house and not do anything and everything's fine, right? That's going to create some long-term pain if you really start to think about it, right? So that's really what I would say to any guys who want to work on, those three selves, the self-image, self-respect, and self-confidence, and discipline becomes a piece of all of that, is intentionally seeking discomfort. And it doesn't have to be like crazy discomfort, right? I'm not saying go, jump in an ice bath for 45 minutes, right? Right? Like I'm saying, if you
Good luck
want
with
to do
that.
that, do it for like 10 seconds to start, right? I like to call it controlled friction, right? Create enough controlled friction in your life to where you have to overcome the thing, and then create a visual system to remember it. And I always say, like, one of the things that really got me going was the first thing I ever started tracking was reading. It's actually one of the reasons why we start with reading. My first goal was to read for 365 days in a row, and I made it to like 323 because I fell asleep with the book on my chest that night. And I remember looking back on the calendar and thinking to myself, this is so much cooler that I tracked all of it, because now I get to see all of the stuff that like I easily didn't need to make those decisions. But if I
Right.
didn't track it, I would have no like evidence or no history of all of the stuff that I did.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a hell of a way to hold yourself accountable,
Mhm.
because you're making a check every day. And if you don't read and you check it anyway, only only you know. But
You know.
if you're really trying to be better, you're going to hold yourself accountable. Like, all right, I'm not going to cheat, man. I got to get this right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So,
and that's why, like, I think sometimes we see uh like some of those really more intense social media posts about, hey, no one cares, right? No one's coming to save you.
yeah.
Like, I totally get that, and I think that's important to think about in those moments when you do want to sleep in, when you do want to eat the pizza. It's like, hey, nobody cares if you do this, but you have to care.
Right.
Like
Yeah. And
you,
nobody else is going to know.
nobody else is gonna know, right? So that's like a really big part.
Okay. At the core, what do parents truly want for their sons? What do you think?
Mm. I've had the honor of, over the last year or so, to meet a lot of parents and
Okay.
talk to a lot of parents, and I would say, Mike, that 99% of them are moms. And so I'm right. So I talk to a lot of moms on a weekly basis who are interested in helping their sons. And the majority of the time I've asked them, I'm like, basically the way that we kind of start these conversations is I say, what do you want your son to achieve over the next 30 to 90 days? And a lot of the times it's, hey, I want him to have a routine, right? I want him to have like a little bit of structure to his life. And I want him to get an exercise routine. I want him to start making some money. I want him to go to school. And I think really what deep down what they really want is they want their son to be happy, right? They want their son to be happy. And I think happiness comes from meaning, from a purpose, from having some sort of thing to do. And that thing to do is bigger than yourself. And I was listening to a Tony Robbins podcast yesterday, and he said, jobs don't just give you money, they give you meaning. So, right, like I encourage guys, I think a lot of times guys, I made an episode about this last week where I think so many times young men try to get it perfect right off the bat. Is it college? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it take a year off? Is it trade school? Just pick something to start with, because you're going to develop skills along the way. You're going to meet people, you're going to meet resources, and that could literally push you in the right direction. and don't like wait for the perfect thing. And what it ends up doing is it ends up giving you that purpose. It ends up giving you that meaning. And I think that's what parents really want for their sons, is they want their sons to feel proud about who they are, and be happy and have that direction, which ultimately gives them that meaning.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Old man glasses. Remind me. All right. So pain. Oh, not. Let's go. Let's go with the pain, vulnerability, feel horrible, yet is the price of connection, progress, and respect. I
Yeah.
stole that one from you.
Yeah. We like to say vulnerability is the price of connection.
Okay.
So kind of like what I was saying with that puzzle piece, right? In order for us to truly connect with somebody, I have to show you really who I am, right? I have to dig down pretty deep. And the story that I like to share about this is, so when I was, and this will be great for a lot of your football guys. When I was in college, when I played college football, I was voted the captain of my football team my senior year. And I was very honored to have that role. I was very serious about that role. It was something that I really wanted that role. Like I wanted to be a leader of men. It was important to me. And I remember before our game, so we'd play on Saturday, Fridays, the captains would address the team. And we had 180 guys on our team. And I remember standing up there for the first time talking to them, and I got emotional. I got emotional because I cared. Like I cared a lot about these guys. I cared about who they were as my teammates, as my friends. I mean, these were guys who I ate 3 squares a meal with, 3 square meals a day with now. When you got a 400-pound squat on your back and you don't know if you're going to make it, and I got that guy behind me who I trust, like there's a bond and there's a brotherhood that's
Yeah,
built,
absolutely.
right? And so these were guys who over the last 4 years we had been in the foxhole together, right? And so that emotion kind of hit me when I got to address them as the captain, and I didn't really think about it until I was actually talking. And so for the next 12 weeks or so of the season, every one of those talks I would get emotional. I got a little choked up,
But it
and I
shows you
was
care and you take pride in it.
right. And so, and it almost kind of became like a little bit of a joke. Like the guys were like, "Oh, here he goes. Here's Deej," and I was kind of like, and I didn't like it at all. Like I tried to suppress it because I thought it showed weakness. I thought it showed uncertainty as a leader. I thought it showed instability, and I didn't like that. And what I realized was at our last game, we played at the University of Pennsylvania, and we played Frostburg State. And I remember it was the last time I was addressing a college football team that I was on. And I decided to apologize. And I decided to apologize to 180 guys. And I said, listen, guys, I know you guys probably didn't want to see me crying up here before a freaking game. And I'm like, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that. I was like, I want you guys to know though where it was coming from and why it was surfacing. And I explained it to him. And as I was explaining it to him, like I saw guys start to like shake their head. And I was kind of like looking at him, and they said, "Don't apologize for that."
Yeah,
And I was like,
I,
"What do you
I
mean?"
knew it. I knew
Right,
no guy cared. Nobody cared that you were
right.
crying.
They said that's the reason that we were as successful as we were this year. They said they said that's the reason that we're better men. That's the reason that we played so hard. And they said that's the reason that we wanted you in that role, is because we knew you
Yeah,
were tough enough to go there. And
yeah.
so they were like, "Don't you dare apologize for it for that." They said that's why we love you. And I realized in that moment, and this is I think so important for young people to realize, especially football guys, because I feel like football guys are these the macho guys who don't cry type of thing. It, that vulnerability that I showed was actually the thing that they respected the most about me.
It was their fuel.
It was the fuel. It was the connection that brought us together. And we were 12-1 that year. We lost in the championship. That's why we had the bowl game at Penn. Um, but it was such an incredible moment. I had guys coming up to me and hugging me. And then I remember we played the game. And then as we were getting on the bus, I had more guys saying like, dude, like that was incredible that you decided to do that. I just want to let you know that like that, like that was the reason that we wanted you in that role. And it was the greatest, probably one of the greatest lessons I've ever been taught was, that whole season, it felt horrible, right? It doesn't feel good in the moment, yet perception of it was completely different.
Well, I will tell you, you showing being able to express that emotion, you're doing something that probably that other 179 guys were wishing they were able to do. They could express themselves that way. So to see their leader do that made them more confident. Because I can tell you as a father, I grew up being taught that men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, that was something I did not want for my sons.
Mm-hmm.
Because not being able to express myself, in many ways has hampered me in a lot of relationships and in life and just things in general. And it was something I did not want for my boys. Like,
Yeah.
listen, if you guys need to cry, you cry. Just because I don't doesn't make you less of a man. So I'm telling you, those guys love you because you did the thing that they wanted to be able to do
Yeah.
and freely be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So vulnerability it's an
yeah,
interesting thing too. It's because you feel weak in the moment, right?
yes,
You feel this nasty instability. And one of the cool things so part of Be That Guy is we also have club calls. So every 2 weeks on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., all the guys in our community hop on a call together. We share wins, we see how everybody's doing, and we have a topic that we talk about that is like relevant to being a better man today.
right.
One of the topics that we had a while ago was on vulnerability. Because I wanted to ask them, I was like, what do you guys think vulnerability is, right? Does this creep you guys out? Is it uncomfortable? And what I wanted each guy to do is I wanted each guy to share a story that showed vulnerability. And so we had guys saying, hey man, I failed my first semester at college. I went home and I cried in front of my parents. And I told them I was so sorry that I wasted their money and that I was a failure and a loser and it sucked. And they embraced the heck out of me. And they're like, and I never really told anybody that story. And I was like, how many of you guys have ever felt like a loser and a failure? And then every guy raises their hand. So, and at the end of the session, we do like an accountability check-in. So I'll say like, hey, anything you guys want us to keep you accountable with over the next couple of weeks that we can check in next week. And all the guys said that was the best topic we've ever discussed was vulnerability. Right. So right.
Men need more of this. We need more of this, and we needed to start it sooner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Hey, something with your phone just gave us an echo or something.
Is it working still?
Let me see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, there's an echo in now.
Oh, I'm good. It's coming in clear on my end.
Okay. We should be good. I should be able to edit it out. We'll be good. So, but DJ, how can people get in touch with you? We'll start there.
I think the easiest way for people to get in touch with me, if you're on social media, you can just go to Instagram is the platform that I'm most active on. So Instagram is just at DJ LaGaurie, DJ LOGORY. Pretty simple. And I post just about every other day on there, different videos. Some of them are funny, some of them are more serious, some of them are about a podcast. We have all different types of stuff that I post on there, but mainly it's directed towards what's going on in the world with young men today, some simple ideas, some things that I've personally gone through. I try to be very vulnerable on my social media. I try to use it as a platform to connect with people. And sometimes with guys, I use the term personal honesty versus vulnerability because I kind of think it's the same thing. But, vulnerability, I think we've grown up as hey, it's this weakness. So honesty might be a little bit better for guys. And so if you're on social media at DJ LaGaurie, but if you want to go to our website, you can go to bethatguyclub.com. That's our website. And we have a cool distinction. We have a page for parents. So if you're a parent who might have a son who you think would want to be a part of this, you can click on that. And it basically outlines everything that you're going to get and the feelings that you're going to kind of experience and what you can expect. And then if you're a guy, we also have a son page. So then the guys can actually go on there and see kind of like what it is and what they can expect. So a lot of the times we'll send a website to a parent and say, hey, check this page out and then send this one to your son. Right. Gotcha. So bethatguyclub.com is where anybody can find me there.
Okay. So we're going to cut it. We're going to end it there. I've got a few ideas I want to run by you.
Okay.
I'd love to have you on again. Okay. I've got a group of young men. Maybe I could pull in a couple just so they can talk to you, and maybe possibly, you guys can have some conversation later on. Maybe they can be part of the program.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely love to have you back. I'd invite them on to get you as well, and then we can kind of go through this again and you can explain what the program is. They can tell you what they're going through, and you having this experience and everything. I think it would be great for them,
Okay.
and I would love to connect you guys.
Okay. That'd be awesome. Do you want to jot down my cell phone number as well?
Tell you what, I'll email you so the rest of the world doesn't have it.
Oh, I'm about to say that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a bunch of people just calling you in the middle of the night, like, "Hey, I've got problems, buddy." Yeah,
I'm
so
like, you know what, Mike? It's a brilliant idea. Sorry,
it's a
bro.
much better idea. So, everybody, Mr. DJ LaGaurie, thank you, sir, for coming on the show. We appreciate you. And listen, man, I am ecstatic to see what you're doing. We need this so bad, especially in this day and age. We need somebody out there looking out for young men. So kudos to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. I loved this conversation, and thank you for the opportunity, man.
Absolutely, we will be in touch. I'm going to email you shortly after this, and I'll definitely get your number, and we'll have some more talks.
Awesome. That sounds like a
All
plan.
right. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.